Hey everyone, welcome to the third video in the risk management series. So why should we use fixed percent risk per trade versus fixed lot sizes? I feel like I covered this pretty well in the last video, but I wanted to show you guys a couple of Excel models that I put together just so you guys can visualize it a little bit better and really understand, the math that's going on behind the scenes, right? So if you guys look at this, this is just a data set that I put together of some, trades. And maybe we start out with a little bit of a losing streak, but eventually we hit some nice trades and we started pulling positive R and expectancy out of this series of trades, right? So what are the parameters of this? We started with a 100K account. If we start with a 100K account, we're risking 0.5%. What's 0.5% of 100K? It's $500, right? It's the most common, like I said, risk profile that people use when they're starting out, right? And even I still use it to this day, right? So why is this important, right? It's not that we're risking $500 per trade on every trade, right? If we were doing that, we would actually be risking, a different percent of the total account balance at every trade, depending on, the outcome of each trade, right? On the other hand, if we kind of see what happens here as we, push through maybe to the fifth trade, right? We can see we made, 4.6% on this particular trade, right? We're now up 2.6%, right? We've made about $2,600, right? So why is that relevant? Because what are we going to use to calculate our actual dollar amount risk for the next trade, right? For trade 6 in this series. Well, we're going to take this account balance, right, of $102,000, multiply it by 0.5%, and what are we going to get? $513. So see how we're now risking $13 more? It's because we're risking, again, a percent of the total account balance. We're not risking a fixed dollar amount. We're not risking, a lot size, fixed lot size, which honestly can be even more out of whack, like I mentioned in the first video, right? And as we can see, as we kind of push down, all the way down to even like the 17th trade here, right? Again, what are we risking? 0.5% of 115K, right? We're risking our profits in a way. It's now baked into our lot size calculation. We're risking almost $600, right? So now you guys can kind of see that, over a long series of trades, this actually starts compounding. And if you were to take an account that you're risking $500 per trade fixed versus an account that scales up with compounding like this, because we're using compounding risk, right? There's going to be a huge difference down the line, right? If we take this over a series of 100 trades, we take the exact same trades on every single, on both accounts, right? We take the exact same trades. Then again, the outcome is going to be very different. One's going to, perform a lot better than the other, and guess which one it is? It's the one that uses compounding, right? We're using fixed percent risk. So I wanted to illustrate that to you guys. On the flip side, I also wanted to show you how fixed percent risk helps to scale down risk, right? Now, if we look at this series of trades, obviously they're all losses. This would not be fun, obviously, to go through. You can see our equity curve is literally a linear line pointing downward, right? But same thing, I wanted to illustrate to you guys, right? As we are trading, right? Maybe we start with a 100K account. We risk, $500 for the first one because it's 0.5% of 100K, right? By the time we get to the 20th trade, can you see how we actually scaled down our risk a little bit? We're now only risking $454, right? Which again, where are we getting this number from? It's 0.5% of $91,000, right? So this helps scale down our risk a little bit. Again, if we were risking just $500 fixed per trade, we're going to hit this negative 10% drawdown a lot faster, especially when you factor in commissions and spread, right? So this helps a little bit to dampen our losses. And on the flip side, as long as we continue to stick to our fixed percent risk, it's going to help us, compound our account. So there's a lot of pros to it. Honestly, I don't think there's any downsides to using a fixed percent risk. It's probably the best way to do it, which is why we all do it, right? If there were a better way, I'm sure we would, say otherwise, right? And we would do it that way. But I want to show you guys another thing you got to be pretty careful of, right? And again, I'm guilty of doing this, which is why I'm showing you guys why you should keep your percent risk per trade consistent. You have to keep it consistent, right? Unless you're a super advanced trader. But even then, I don't want to say that. And for those of you that maybe think you're at that level, you might not be. So just please be careful, right? So what's the difference with this one? For this particular Excel model, I actually have a percent risk per trade column here, right? So this is something that I've done before, like I mentioned, right? Or I started out with 0.5% risk. I'm trading. Oh, look, we've hit, by our 8th trade or whatever this is. I think this is like the 9th or 10th trade, whatever. Look, we are now in about 4% drawdown. We've lost a bunch of times. Now maybe you're thinking to yourself, oh, you know what? Like, this sucks. Let's drop the risk a bit. Like, this is really bad. Let's mitigate, some of the losses that we're going to take if we continue to trade with a 0.5% risk, right? Okay, what happens on the next trade? Okay, we lose the next one, but then look, we hit a 10-hour trade, 2 trades down, right? This 10-hour trade with a 0.5% risk would have helped us recover quite a bit, right? Rather than being, a 2.3% gain, this would have been almost 5% gain, right? So we could have pretty much recovered back to break even, right? But no, we maybe we stick to 0.25%. Our confidence is still kind of shattered. Whatever, that's fine. We keep losing, right? You can see it's shrinking, right? Our actual our risk per trade, right? Because we're still risking 0.25%, and then maybe we hit 4 losses in a row. We're like, okay, you know what? Let's drop it to 0.1%. Like, we're just losing too much. Let's try to stop ourselves from losing so much, right? On every trade. So we drop it to 0.1%. Next trade we hit is a 24-hour trade. Oh man, we may have won, we may have made 24-hour, but look, we only made 2.3%, right? This would have otherwise been on a 0.5% trade. I'm not good at mental math, but almost 10% or above 10%, I believe, right? Because it would have been, it would have been quite a bit. 10% would be 20R, right? So this would be above 20, or above 10%, right? But and look, we would have been in huge profit from that, especially since we're only down 3%, right? That would have been pretty good. But no, we decided, okay, we're gonna stick to 0.1%. And okay, we got overconfident because look, we've hit this 24-hour trade. And now we think we're on top of the world. Oh my God, the next trade we're gonna hit, it's probably gonna be 24-hour too. Maybe it's 50R, right? So let's scale risk up to 1%. Again, I've done stuff like this, so this is why I'm putting this model together for you guys. What happens? We then lose the next 6 trades, and look, we hit a huge drawdown, right? So this is why it's important to stick to 0.5% risk per trade. I think if we had just left this static, our risk per trade, we actually probably would have ended up positive, right? Let me quickly check. I have the Excel sheet on the side here. I'll quickly show you guys. Let's just see what happens. Yeah, we would have been up quite a bit here. I'll take a picture of it so you guys can see. So here is that calculation. Put it in here, right? So this is with just a straight 0.5% risk. Look at that. Just because of the 24-hour trade, we would have recovered, and we actually would have ended off with what, almost 7% gain for this series of trades. It's pretty impressive, right? Pretty good stuff. So there's our little mini lesson on that. Again, I wanted to dive deeper into it so you guys understand the mechanics behind it. It's good to know this stuff so that you're aware of the math that's driving all of this, right? And we can be confident about what we're risking per trade, and it'll give us reason not to go around and tinker with things like risk. It's dangerous, guys. It's it's kind of like playing with a match, using a match to check for gas leaks. Would you do that? No. Okay, I don't think so. Anyways, I hope not. So please don't play with your risk. Try to keep it consistent. Okay, that's kind of the lesson I'm trying to give you guys here. All right, let's move on to the next video. I'll catch you guys on the next one.